أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا حبيب إله العالمين أبا القاسم مصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم. Hello everyone and welcome to the 10th week of Tadabbur on the Quran. We're gonna continue our study on Surah Al-Insān. We had verses 1 to 22 last week, which was two paragraphs actually. Today we're gonna make the conclusion for those two paragraphs that we had last week, and then we will study verses 23 to 31 and make conclusion for each of those paragraphs, and then we will have the conclusion for the whole chapter. So I hope that it's clear. We had verses 1 to 22 last week. We're going to make conclusion for those two paragraphs. We're going to read the other two paragraphs, which is verses 23 to 31, make conclusion on each of them. Then we will have the conclusion for the whole chapter. So let's get start actually our study and our class. It's actually this chapter has four paragraphs, as I explained it already. It has four paragraphs. The first paragraph is verses 1 to 4. The second paragraph is verses 5 to 22. The third paragraph, verses 23 to 28. And fourth paragraph is verses 29 to 31. The first paragraph, we had it last week. We translated the verses and I explained each verse, the connection between verses. And also I explained why verse 5 is the beginning of the second paragraph. I'm not gonna translate verses again. I'm just gonna have a quick review on them and then have the conclusion for this paragraph. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the entirely beneficent, the ever merciful. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. Has there come to the human a period of time when he was not a thing even to be mentioned? This chapter started with a verse to remind us that before that God created us, we were nothing. And it is actually an evidence to tell us that there was no choice for you in a period of time before you were born. Before we were born, we were nothing. And God is saying that you were not even something worth to mention. You were nothing, and there was no choice for you. There was no freedom for you. And we created you. إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ. We created the human, the second verse. And then the third verse is saying that we guided him to the way. We showed him the way, and he has a freedom in this temporary life, in this short time in this life, and he can choose to be grateful or ungrateful, which I explained. Being grateful means accepting that guidance. Everything that God is giving to us, every mercy like guidance, if we use it and accept it and use it in the way that God wanted us to do, it means we are grateful. If he gave us the ability to read and to hear and this stuff, if we use it in the path of God, it means we are grateful. If God provided us the guidance, if we accept that guidance, it means we are grateful. So God is saying that we created you and we guided you, and you are free to choose to be grateful or ungrateful. And there are some people that they believe that it means they are free to choose whatever, and there is not going to be any consequences if they choose to be ungrateful. So God warned them at the fourth paragraph that if you choose to be ungrateful, if you choose the other path, if you regret to be in the path of God, you will be punished. and we have prepared chains and shackles and a blazing fire. God is warning those people, ungrateful people, that you are not free to do whatever that you want. You will be punished one day. Based on this paragraph, we can say that God sent down these verses and God sent down this paragraph because there were some people that they were mindless about choosing the ungrateful path. They were mindless about the consequences of being ungrateful. So God sent down this paragraph to warn them and to tell them that before uh, you were born, you were nothing. So there was a time that you were nothing, and then we created you. And after you die, again, there is no choice for you. So actually, the first verse is a sign, is a evidence to tell us that as you were nothing before, and there was no choice, no freedom for you, there will be also a period of time after you died, and on that world, you will have no choice and there is no freedom for you. So God sent down this paragraph to tell those mindless people that this freedom that you have in this life, it's temporary, it's in a short time, and there are some consequences if you choose the ungrateful path, and you will be punished. So the main goal of this paragraph was this: the creation and guidance of humans are up to God. God created us, and because He created us, of course, He has to guide us. And being ungrateful to the blessing of guidance will result in severe punishment. God is kind to us. He didn't created us and then leave us without guidance. He guided us. But if we choose to be ungrateful, there are some consequences and we will be punished. God created the human and guided him to the right path by making him equipped with perception, which God mentioned that we created you and we made you seeing and hearing. Humans are free to accept guidance. However, if they choose the path of being ungrateful, they will face severe punishment. So if you have any question on this paragraph, the first paragraph, please ask your question, then we can go to the second paragraph. Is everything clear? Okay, let's go to the second paragraph. At the second paragraph, God introduced the servant of God as a role model for all of us. Because in the first paragraph, God warned us that if you are ungrateful, you'll be punished. So mindful people, they would be like this. It's very dangerous. If we choose the other path, we will be punished on the other life. So I would like to choose to be grateful, and I like to choose the path of God, but I need a role model. Who should I look at and who should I follow? So God provided the second paragraph and sent down these verses to introduce a role model for us to look at them and follow them. Who are they? God started with the righteous people. Righteous people are those people who follow the servant of God. The servant of God are the main role model, and the righteous followed them. And as much as they followed them, and if they are more and more similar to them in this life, on the other life, they will be rewarded. So God started with this part that there are some righteous people and they will be rewarded on heaven, but they actually followed the servant of God in this life. Who are the servant of God? Then God introduced servant of God. God told us that they were fearful people, and they also fulfilled their vows, and they feared the day of judgment, and they were trying to be in the path of God. They donate their food although they were hungry, And the reason that they did all of these things, it was because they were fearful of God, and they were not looking for the actually reward or gratuities from those poor people. They were doing all of those things for the sake of God, and they said that we are fearful of God. So, and we are also scared of that heavy day. So we did all of these donation because of that. And God actually showed us a picture of the heaven that is provided for those servants of God. Uh, God protected them from the evil of that day and gave them these rewards, and rewarded them with heaven. And God actually described that heaven for us. So the main reason for sending down these verses, the second paragraph, was introducing a role model for us. We needed a role model to look at them and follow them, to be in the path of God. So God sent down these verses, and the main goal of this paragraph was introducing a role model to direct people to the path of gratefulness. Try to be pious and like servants of God, be fearful of God, forsake the love of the world, don't care about this fleeting world. So now we're going to go to the to the third paragraph. Why did I choose the verse 23 as the beginning of the third paragraph? Is there any reason? Of course, there is several reasons for that. This verse is actually from God talking to the prophet. Based on this verse, we can see that God is directly talking to the prophet, and we will see at the rest of these parts, we will see these verses issuing some commands to the prophet, and God is trying to protect him against disbelievers. Because of that, we believe that verses 23 to 28 are in one paragraph, because they have some commands from God to the prophet, and they have a topic which is different from the paragraph before that. So if you have any question on this part, you can ask your question. Also, if you have any question about the second paragraph. Nothing? Are we good now? So verse 23. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ تَنزِيلًا. Indeed, it is we who have sent down to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Quran progressively. God is saying that we sent down to you, and it's talking to the Prophet directly. We sent down to you the Quran progressively. So this Quran, which is kind of a roadmap, and it has all of those commands to help people to choose the gratefulness and to be in the path of God. This is the book that helps people to find the good path, and this book is actually guiding them. The guidance that God is talking about it in this chapter is actually the Quran. The Quran is the guidance that helps people to find their path and to stay in the path. فاصبر لحكم ربك ولا تطع منهم آثما أو كفورا. So be patient for your Lord's command, and do not obey any sinners or any sinners or ungrateful disbeliever from among them. Be patient. The first important command in this paragraph is this: be patient. God is telling the prophet that you have to be patient because God sent down this book to you, and you have to deliver the message to people, talk to them, invite them. And this is a difficult path, and you have to be patient. On the other side, there are some disbelievers who are bothering you. They are trying to stop you, and you have to be patient in this path. And لحكم ربك, your Lord's command is actually Quran. Why? Because in the verse before that, God told the prophet that we sent down you this book, we sent down you the Quran. So obviously, لحكم رب, your Lord's command, it means all of those commands which is inside the Quran. Because in this verse, God is telling the prophet, because we sent down you this book, which is full of those commands from God, you have to be patient for delivering it to people, and you have to stand against disbelievers. And then it says, وَلَا تُطِعْ مِنْهُمْ, and do not obey any sinner or ungrateful. What does it mean? Does it mean that they told a prophet like sinners and ungrateful disbelievers? Did they say something to the prophet and God is telling the prophet that you shouldn't obey them? Well, it's not like that. Actually, disbelievers and ungrateful people, they choose the other path. They choose to reject the guidance, and also they didn't like to see that prophet is guiding people and helping them to choose the grateful path. So this is one point. First, they made their own choice, and then they were trying to bother the others, and they didn't want they didn't like to see the other people to choose the gratefulness. Okay, so they offered the prophet several things. At the beginning of his prophecy, they offered the prophet that we're going to give you money, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that. Please just stop your invitation. Stop inviting people to Islam. Stop talking to them about Quran. They offered prophet several things, and the prophet rejected all of them. Then they were like, okay, he is not accepting anything from us, and we have to choose some another way to bother him. They started torturing Muslims and killing them and banned them from anything, from food, from water, from everything. And with all of those operations and those bans and actually torturing Muslims, they were trying to stop Prophet from his invitation. They were trying to tell the Prophet that you should slow down. Why are you talking to people continuously? Why are you inviting them to Quran continuously? At least slow down. If you slow down, then we will torture them less. We would not ban you from this and from that. So at the beginning, they offered the prophet several things, and when the prophet rejected all of them, then they started bothering the Muslims, torturing them, and this stuff to force the prophet to slow down and stop your invitation. If you slow down, at least talk to them less. Instead of 5 hours a day, talk to them 1 hour a day. Slow down and don't be super active and this stuff. If you slow down, we will torture them less. In this situation, God is telling the prophet, do not obey them. If you slow down, it means you are obeying them. Do not slow down. Go ahead, uh, continue your invitation and deliver the message of God to people, and do not obey any of those sinners and ungrateful. This is very funny. They choose the other path. So this is your choice. You choose the other path. Why are you trying to stop the other people? It's very funny, and we can see it now. Those people who choose their wrong path, they actually they are not even okay with to see the people who choose being grateful, and it's very ridiculous. Each of us has one choice, and we can choose to be ungrateful or grateful. If you choose to be ungrateful, don't bother the others. That is their own life. That is their own choice. Anyway, in this part, God is telling the prophet that do not obey Asem. Asem means sinner, and kafur means ungrateful. Um, so to be patient, being patient is really difficult with all of those responsibility that the prophet had. At the verse 25 and 26, God is telling the prophet some commands to help him to be patient. What are those commands? واذكر اسم ربك بكرة وأصيلا, and remember the name of your Lord morning and evening. Morning and evening, it doesn't mean only two times, it means continuously. Continuously during the day and during the night, morning and evening, remember the name of your Lord. Vazkor, or remembering the name of your Lord, is a way to be patient, to help you to be patient. So God told the prophet, be patient. One way to be patient is remembering the name of your Lord, because remembering the name of Lord is helping us, and it's also for all of us, not only for the prophet. If you are in a difficulties, if when you remember the name of Lord, it's helping us, and it's remembering us that He has the greatest power. Everything is under His control, and in any difficulties, when we remember His name, it's helping us and it's empowering us. So God is telling the prophet that for being patient, you have to remember the name of your Lord, and it's helping you. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَاسْجُدْ لَهُ وَسَبِّحْهُ لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا. And in a period of night, then prostrate to him. In a period of night, for example, in Surah Al-Muzammil, God told the Prophet that you have to stand up during the night, half of it, or a little less than half, or a little more than half. You have to stand up and do the pray, do the night vigil, and it's like that. When it says a period of time, it means several hours during the night. Stand up. It will help you to be patient. It will help you to increase your capacity. It will help you to increase your spiritual experience and this stuff. So in a period of night, stand up and then prostrate to Him, prostrate to God. Prostrating to God will remember again, will remember us that God is greater than everything. He is the greatest power, and we are nothing in front of Him. And it's actually giving us a great power when we are doing this. وَسَبِّحْهُ لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا, and glorify Him at length by night. It means during a actually during a long time during the night, several hours, do the glorifying God means remembering that He is perfect. There is no impurity in Him, there is no imperfection in Him. He doesn't need anything, and this stuff. When you do the glorify, again, it's helping you to be more and more patient. So these four commands that God told the prophet: be patient, remember the name of your Lord, and prostrate to Him and glorify Him. Fasbir, wazkur, fasjud, wasabbih. These four commands are actually helping the prophet and giving him a power to stand against those disbelievers and to guide people to the path of God. So now we have a question. Who are Atham and Kafur in the verse 24, which God said sinners and ungrateful disbelievers? Who are these? We need to know them. At the verse 27 and 28, God is introducing them to us. They are actually on the other side, opposite to the role model, to the servants of God. God introduced the servants of God in the second paragraph, and on the other side, there are Atham and Kafur, sinner and ungrateful. They are actually very opposite together. إن هؤلاء, this Atham and Kafur, who are they? إن هؤلاء يحبون العاجلة ويذرون وراءهم يوما ثقيلا. Indeed, these disbelievers love the fleeting life and leave behind them a heavy day. So see, this is exactly against the servants of God. They were like forsaken this fleeting life, and they didn't care about this temporary life, and they were fearful of God, and they care about the day of judgment. But uh, in this side, ungrateful people and disbelievers, they love the fleeting life. يُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةَ, which means they love the fleeting life. They only care about this temporary life, and this is the only thing which is important to them. And leave behind them a heavy day. They don't care. يَذَرُونَ وَرَاءَهُمْ, which means they don't care about the day of judgment. They're not even scared of it. They don't care about it, and they just leave it behind. And they're like this, who said that there's gonna be a day of judgment? Who care about this? Let's just enjoy this temporary life, this fleeting life. نحن خلقناهم وشددنا أسرهم وإذا شئنا بدلنا أمثالهم تبديلا. We have created them and strengthened their frame, their joint. Shadadna asrahum. Asr means joint or like their bone and their frame. We strengthened them, and they are nothing to us. If they are on their foot, on their feet, and if they look at themselves and they believe that they have a power, they have a money and this stuff, they have to know that we created them. They were nothing. We created them. We strengthened their frame and their joints and their bone and their body. And when we will, وَإِذَا شِئْنَا, whenever that we want, whenever we will, we can replace them. We can replace them with others like them. بدلنا أمثالهم تبديلا. Whenever that we want, we can just kill all of them on the earth and just remove all of them from the earth and bring another generation or other humans. They are nothing to us. They think that they have something or they are something. They have to know that they are nothing, and we created them. So now we are familiar with ungrateful people, two sides, grateful people or the servants of God, which God introduced to us in the second paragraph. And now we are familiar with ungrateful people on the other side, and they are actually trying to stop Prophet and trying to slow down him and telling him that do not invite people, and at least slow down. Don't invite them continuously. And God told the prophet, don't listen to them. Go ahead and be patient in this path. This is a difficult path, and you have to be patient and remember the name of your Lord and prostrate to him and glorify him. So based on this paragraph, we can say that obviously a group of disbelievers who are ungrateful about the guidance of God, they are trying to stop the prophet or slow down him. And in this difficult situation, they were also torturing Muslims and trying to force the Prophet using this torturing and banning them and killing them and this stuff. Based on this, they are trying to stop the Prophet or slow down him. So God sent down these verses to support the Prophet, to give him hope and also give the Muslims hope and tell the Prophet that you have to be patient and you have to remember the name of your Lord, prostrate to him and glorify him. God also introduced us the group of ungrateful people, and God told us that they only care about this temporary life, and they love the fleeting life, and they don't care about the day of judgment. And the main point of this paragraph was removing the obstacles in the path of guidance with the Quran. God told the Prophet to guide people using the Quran, but there are some obstacles by the ungrateful people. Now God is trying to help the Prophet to remove these obstacles. O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be patient and resist the chiefs of disbelievers. They are trying to stop you. So, any question on this paragraph?
Sister, just one question.
Of course.
Paragraph 3 talks about that part of the life of the Prophet when he appears to be in Makkah, and it's the early part of when he was starting to sort of promote the religion of Islam. Paragraph 2 talks about an incident which happened in Medina. So, would it be okay for us to assume that some of the surah was revealed in Makkah and the other
Yeah.
part in Medina?
Of course, that's a really good question. Of course, and it happens many times in different chapters that some verses was revealed in Mecca, some verses was revealed in Medina, and whenever that those verses revealed, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told Imam Ali alayhi salam to put these verses in this chapter, to put these verses in this chapter. And there is a quote from Imam Ali. Imam Ali alayhi salam was the main writer of Quran. There were different groups of writers of Quran, and some of them memorized Quran, some of them write Quran, but Imam Ali alayhi salam was the main writer. And the Quran that we have now, which is famous as Mus'haf Ayesha, because it was in the house of Ayesha. Ayesha was the prophet's wife. And when the prophet died, there was a book in the house of Aisha, which is actually that mushaf that Imam Ali alayhi salam write it down. And there is a quote from Imam Ali alayhi salam that every time that a verse or several verses were revealed, the prophet told me to put these verses in this specific place, in this specific chapter or in this specific place. There is, and it's absolutely okay. There are many chapters in Quran that some of those verses were revealed in Medina, some of them in Mecca. But I have to mention something. These verses 23 to 28, we cannot say these are necessarily in Mecca. The verses before that, it was obviously in Medina. Why? Because it says it has Asir in it. I don't want to go back to it again. Let me go back to show you. So it's not again here. It's here, verse 8. It says, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. Asir or captive was only in Medina. So obviously verses 5 to 22 were revealed in Medina. This is very obvious. And there are many other evidence in this paragraph, which I can say for sure. Second paragraph was revealed in Medina. But the third paragraph, we cannot say it for sure if it was in Mecca or Medina, because even when they were in Medina, they were under pressure. They attacked Medina several times. The disbelievers attacked Medina several times, and they sent message to the Prophet that you have to stop your invitation and this stuff, and you have to slow down your invitation, or if you don't do it, we will attack you. And also, there were some Jewish around near the Medina, and the disbelievers from Mecca bothered the Prophet and Muslims who were in Medina through those Jewish, and tell them that you shouldn't have any trading with the people in Medina and many of these. So based on that, we cannot say that because there was some conversation between the prophet and those disbelievers, it means for necessarily it was revealed in Mecca. It can be revealed in Medina also, because even during the Medina times, there were conversation between them. They sent letters, and there were several wars between them. So I cannot say it for sure if it's in Medina or Mecca. But the main question, is there a possibility that a part of a chapter is revealed in Mecca, part of it in Medina? Yes, it is possible. So did you get the answer?
Yes, thank you, sister. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Of course. So any other question? Excuse me, I have a question. Yeah, of course.
Can we say the word hook in verse 24 is the prophet's prophecy?
In verse 24, Hukm here, based on verse 23, we say Quran. Because God said that إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ تَنزِيلًا. We have sent down to you the Quran. So now God is saying that you have to be patient for what we sent down to you. Actually, hukm, which is Lord's command, it's all of those commands which is inside the Quran. And the prophecy of the Prophet is also inside the Quran. Was it clear now?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, of course. So any other question? I'm happy when you ask question. I feel like, okay, it seems that you are thinking about it. Of course you are thinking about it, but when you bring it down, bring it up and talking about your question, I'm happy to hear your voice and I'm happy that to see that you are thinking about this stuff. And when you ask, then I can explain more. So let's go to the fourth paragraph. إن هذه تذكرة فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا. Indeed, this is a reminder. هذه, this is a reminder. So he who wills may take to his Lord a way. So it means whoever wants to choose be the grateful, they can take this path and they can take this reminder to help them, to guide them the path. What is this is a reminder? And hazihi. Hazihi refers to what? We say at the minimum level, hazihi or this refers to this chapter, these verses that we already read, verses 1 to 28. This is a reminder. It means these verses 1 to 28, which we talked about it, and we showed you the role model and we showed you the ungrateful people. We showed you both sides. This is a reminder for you to tell you that if you choose to be ungrateful, there is some consequences for it. And if you choose to be grateful, then you'll be rewarded in the heaven. So at the first level or at the minimum level, this or hazihi refer to these verses and this chapter, which we already read it. And at the upper level, hazihi or this refers to the whole Quran because Quran is a reminder. And Quran introduced himself several times as a tazkirah, as a reminder. And there are many verses that God said that this book is a reminder for you. So hazihi, or this is a reminder, we say that at the first level and at the minimum level refers to these verses and this chapter. And at the upper level, we say that this is referring to the actually whole Quran. This book is a reminder for you. So he who wills may take to his Lord a way. Whoever wants to choose to be grateful, to be in the path of God, then they can choose this book as a roadmap to help them, to guide them to the path of God. وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا. And you do not will, but God wills. Indeed, God is all-knowing, all-wise. So this first part of this verse, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ, you do not will, but God wills. It's kind of a complicated and it's confusing many people, specifically in the philosophy classes and the logic classes. People talk about these hours and hours, and there is some misunderstanding in this part. People think that it means whatever that we choose, it's because God wanted us to choose this. And it seems that there is a force and there is no choice. If people choose the grateful path, it's because God designed everything for them to choose that one. And if people choose the ungrateful path, it means that God wanted them to choose the other one. In this case, this is very ridiculous to be rewarded by heaven or to be punished in hell, because it means there was no choice. If I choose to be grateful, God designed everything for me and God forced me to choose to be grateful. Then why should I be rewarded in the heaven? I didn't do anything. Like animals that we say they do everything based on their natures. Like we say bees, they can find their path, and like they go to the flowers and they go back to the home to make honey and this stuff. We say that bees find their path based on their natures and they're not lost and this stuff. So we're not like animals. We choose and we can see it, we can feel it. There are tons of evidence that we are free to choose. And so obviously this kind of interpretation is rejected. But what does it mean that God will and then we will? Uh, just as an example, imagine a game that kids play with those games, and imagine that it's a computer game, and there is like a tiny a boy on that game, and it's going through all of those options which is around during his path. If the person who designed this game, if that designer didn't put any options on that path, then that tiny boy which is in this game cannot choose something which is not designed by the designer. God is designer and he designed everything in our path, in our life, sorry. And if God didn't provide a specific option for us, of course, there is no choice for me for that option. For example, if God didn't provided an option for someone to have a child, then that person cannot have a child at all. Even if that person choose to marry and have a child, because God didn't provide that option for him or for her, then they cannot have a child at all. So when God wills, God provided all of those options, like thousand option for me, thousand options for you. You can choose only one of those thousand options. You cannot choose something outside of that options. Okay, I hope that it's clear enough. God provided all of those options and all of those possible ways that you can go through it, and you cannot choose a way or an option which is not on that design. So whatever that we will and whatever that we choose, it's in this design. And whatever that I choose, it was designed before that by God. And when I choose that path, then again, God provided 10 option after that. And when I, like, for example, select the second way, then after that second way, again, God provided all of those possible options. So all of those possibilities and all of those possible options are provided and designed by God, and it means God wills. Then I choose one of them. Okay? Also, there are some wrong ideology, there are some wrong thoughts that they believe. If they choose to be ungrateful, if they choose the wrong path, they will end up in a happy life on the other life. First, they don't believe, some of them don't believe in the other life, but some of them they believe if there is a life after this life, I'll be happy on that life. And they believe that being ungrateful and whatever that they do in this life is not important. So God is saying that I designed these two main paths, being grateful and ungrateful. And the consequences of each of them, I designed it also. So if you choose to be ungrateful, you cannot say that at the end of it, I'll be happy because I designed that path. And this is how God wills. God wills that, and God designed all of it. And the end of each path is actually under his control. And whenever that we choose this one, then the end of our story is designed by God. So I can only choose one of these options. And what is at the end of it, it's not under my control. That is God's will. I hope that it's clear enough. So when we say وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ, it doesn't mean that there is no choice. It doesn't mean that God forced us to choose one of these things. And it doesn't mean that everything is designed before that. It doesn't mean that God knows all of these things before we choose it, okay? It just means that God provided all of those possibilities, all of those options, and I can choose only one of them. And as soon as I choose that option, then the consequences of it is also designed by God. I cannot say that I will choose the ungrateful path, then I will end it up in heaven. That is impossible. God didn't design something like this. If you choose to be ungrateful, you will end it up in hell. So that is the first part of it, and then it says, "Inna Allah kana aliman hakima." Indeed, God is all knowing, all wise. يدخل من يشاء في رحمته والظالمين أعد لهم عذابا أليما. He admits whom he wills into his mercy, but the wrongdoers he has prepared for them a painful punishment. So يدخل من يشاء في رحمته, it means he admits whom he wills into his mercy. Again, it means God provided a path, the grateful path, and the end of it is happiness, is heaven, is rewarding, and all of those things. And whoever who choose this path to be grateful, God will into his mercy, God will provided him all of those rewards and mercies. But about wrongdoers, if they choose the other path, God provided painful punishment for them. So these three verses were actually the end of this paragraph, the end of this chapter. These three verses together are actually one paragraph together, and they are kind of a conclusion for the whole chapter. It's telling us that this chapter and also the whole book is a reminder, and people should know that if they choose one path, the consequences of that path is designed by God. And you can choose only one of these possible options. You cannot choose something outside of these options. God provided some options for you. You have to choose one of them, and the consequences of that path is designed by God. You cannot change the end of your story. Whenever you choose, you are actually on that path, and the end of your story is clear. So the main point of this paragraph is this public call to move toward God based on content of the surah. God is inviting everyone to move toward God based on what he sent in this surah, which I said has a heat. This is a reminder. It's actually referring to this surah, and at the higher level, it's referring to the whole Quran. What is stated above, it means verses 1 to 28, is a warning to humans to take the right path toward God. Do you have any question on this paragraph, which I mistakenly mentioned third paragraph? It should be fourth paragraph. Do you have any question on the third paragraph? Sorry, fourth paragraph. I said third again. Any question? Nothing. So let's go to the conclusion of this chapter. At the first paragraph, we learned that God created us, and God told us that the creation and guidance of humans are up to God. We learned that God created us and he guided us, and we are free to choose, but if we choose to be ungrateful, then we'll be punished. So at the first paragraph, God told us that the creation and guidance of humans are up to God, and being ungrateful to the blessings, to the blessing of guidance will result in severe punishment. At the second paragraph, God introduced a role model to direct people to the path of gratefulness. He told us about the servants of God, and he told us if you follow them, you'll be among the righteous. And as more as following them, you'll be more and more rewarded on the other life. And at the third paragraph, God helps the prophet and protect him to stand against disbelievers, and God help him to remove the obstacles in the path of guidance with the Qur'an. And at the fourth paragraph, it was a public invitation, public call to move toward God based on content of the surah. The first paragraph was kind of an introduction, and God just told us that I created you and I guided you, and you are free to choose, but you have to know that you'll be punished. So this was kind of an introduction. And the fourth paragraph was kind of a conclusion. I can say that the main concept of this chapter was in the second paragraph and third paragraph. In the second paragraph, God told us about the servants of God as a role model. And in the third paragraph, God introduced the obstacles and those disbelievers and helps the prophet and also us to stand against them. So the main concept is in the second and third paragraph. And based on that, we can say that the main goal of chapter 76, Surah Al-Insān, is this: guide the human and help him to choose the path of gratefulness, accepting the divine guidance. God sent down this book, and this book as a roadmap which contains all of the guidance in it and all of those commands of God. This is a divine guidance, and to follow it, God sent down this chapter to tell us that you have to choose it as a guidance, and there are some difficulties in this path, of course. There's always people like those ungrateful people and those disbelievers. They are trying to mislead you. They are trying to bother you in this path, but you have to be patient. So the main goal is this: guide the human and help him to choose the path of gratefulness. God has guided the human, and he introduced servants of God as role models for the path of gratefulness, and he supported the prophet to stand against disbelievers so that human takes the right path toward his Lord by his free will. So this was the conclusion of this chapter. Based on this, we can say that people needed guidance and people needed a chapter to tell them about the grateful path and ungrateful path. And God kindly sent down this chapter to help us, and also he supported the prophet to stand against those disbelievers. I'm gonna stop the recording. We can listen to the recitation of this chapter, then you can ask your question.